everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to the Wild and Crazy Comic Book Vault. Today we're going to do our next part on the Daredevil Classic series. This is Deadpool Classic Volume 2, and this covers issues, I think, 2 through 8 of the Deadpool Monthly, plus the Deadpool Flashback issue, Deadpool -1. There were these -1 issues in a lot of the Marvel books in, I think, around 96, 97, where they would go back to something that happened either during the origin of a character or even before the origin of a character that had not previously been tackled, and these flashback issues. And so we get the Deadpool one here, and then at the end of this, there's a long Deadpool Daredevil story, which is Deadpool Annual #1. And anyway, this whole thing is written by Joe Kelly. I think actually the entire book is Joe Kelly, yep, and with a number of different artists, including Pete Woods, Aaron Lopresti, and Bernard Chang. A few different art styles, mostly the kind of cartoonish Deadpool stuff that the monthly started with, which I'm starting to get more and more on board with. I know in the first volume I said that I didn't really care for that as much as the kind of standard stylized, edgy, 90s art that we had before that. I think it was just because I was getting used to that, having read like 200 pages of it. But anyway, this goes along really well with the kind of the attitude that Deadpool has and kind of the tone, although I do think that there are places where the tone gets a bit inconsistent. I'll talk about that as I go along. Anyway, so this is a really meaty volume. The whole thing's not just one story. Of course, there's a lot of different kind of small stories in this, and it's all these issues from the monthly, so it's not just one story arc, and some of these are even kind of one-shot stories. So I'm going to try to touch on everything briefly, and I'll try to mention a little something about all of this, but I'll tackle pretty much the major stuff. And again, if you haven't read this before and you're wanting to take a look at the Deadpool Classics, make sure that you don't watch this video, because I am going to give spoilers, and I do this partly for review and also partly just to educate people who haven't gotten a chance to read this and maybe won't, or maybe it'll be a while, so that I can kind of read it for you and tell you a few things about it. So this opens up with Deadpool dealing with Siren again, and I was really hoping that Siren would come back in this. I really liked their relationship together, and I was hoping that there was a chance that they would get together, and their chemistry continues to be fantastic. I really love the voice that Joe Kelly has for Siren. I always kind of resist the idea, though, of having to have these characters that have different accents having to speak phonetically. I get used to it with her, and it's not done as obnoxiously with her as it is sometimes with other characters, but Siren is Irish, and so she doesn't say you, she says ye, ye, and those sorts of things. I don't know, usually modern conventions of like novel and short story writing, we don't really do that anymore. We kind of just say this character has this accent, and they might speak with a somewhat different vocabulary, but we get to kind of imagine the accent itself for ourselves. Comic books still to this day haven't really gotten the memo. It continues to be fine, convention wise, for comics to do this kind of phonetic dialogue, and I don't know, I don't love it, but you get used to it. Anyway, he has a fantastic voice for her, even though he's writing her somewhat phonetically, and like I said, that's just kind of a taste issue for me. It gets in the way of my reading. But anyway, basically what happens is, at first you think Black Tom's going to come back, and then it turns out that it's actually just a ruse by Dr. Killebrew to get Deadpool to come see him. And the thing is, Dr. Killebrew is the guy who originally did the Weapon X experiment on Deadpool, and he feels terrible for what he did to Deadpool. He put Deadpool through excruciating pain, and really thinking about Dr. Killebrew is one of the only things that gets Deadpool serious and makes him stop joking, and really messes with his head, because it takes him back to Weapon X, and he remembers all of those horrifying things that were done to him, and he talks a lot about how he screamed to the point where he didn't recognize his own voice, and you get these flashes of humanity from Deadpool, where usually he tries to talk like he doesn't really have a soul, he doesn't really care about anything, he just likes to joke and kill people, and that's what he does. But clearly there's more to him than that. We know that after reading Volume 1, and even though we have to keep wading through these pages and pages of jokey dialogue, there's always a moment or two here or there where you know, he's vulnerable, and it's those moments of vulnerability that really make the character worth reading. So basically, Dr. Killebrew sends Deadpool a glove. And Deadpool thinks that it's the glove that Black Tom took from him toward the middle of Volume 1. And it turns out that he's actually just been sending these gloves that look kind of like Deadpool's gloves. He's gotten thousands of them somehow, and he's sent them all over the place to places that he knows that mercenaries are at, hoping that Deadpool will be somewhere and get his note and come to him. And the reason is because he thinks that he can cure Deadpool. Remember from Volume 1 that Deadpool was starting to not be able to heal, and he's still missing a finger from the previous volume, and his healing factor is not working the way it's supposed to. And it turns out that we discover after Deadpool finally allows Dr. Killebrew to do some to study him a little bit, we find out that it was actually that radiation from the first issue when he was in the Arctic dealing with Sasquatch, that when he was bathed in that radiation, it actually totally messed with his healing factor, and so Dr. Killebrew has to fix him. And that radiation was actually gamma radiation, and so of course the only person whose cells can possibly fix Deadpool is the Hulk. So at first, Deadpool wants to kill Dr. Killebrew, and then, of course, you know, because of all the horrible things that he did to him during the Weapon X program. And Siren talks him out of it. And, but through this entire mission, Deadpool keeps saying that when this is all over, he doesn't care if he gets healed or not, he's gonna kill Dr. Killebrew. That's his whole plan. And being a mercenary and having kind of a lower regard for life, or at least trying to allow himself to have a lower regard for life, he thinks that he is completely, in the right on this, and that it doesn't matter how much he's thought about being a hero and that kind of thing. This guy deserves it. Nothing would make Deadpool happier than to see this guy shish kebabbed. So finally, he goes and attacks the Hulk. He finds the Hulk. The Hulk is on an island somewhere that he's actually like taken over. And I haven't read any Hulk around this period, so I don't know exactly what was going on in his history. But he has all these really interesting things going on. At this point, he's not reverting to Bruce Banner. He's talking in plain and complete sentences, and he's basically just attacking anybody who comes near him. And he also is more vulnerable than he used to be. And we're not told why in this. I'm sure it's covered in his book, but Deadpool actually is able to stab him. And luckily, a good thing that he came to the Hulk in one of the only times in the Hulk's history where you could just stab him with a knife and he would actually get impaled. And or at least as far as I know about the Hulk, his hide is thicker than that. In fact, the Hulk even says that the Hulk, Deadpool actually says that the Hulk is even a whole lot worse to fight than Juggernaut. He's like, give me because Siren mentions Juggernaut. He says, give me Juggernaut any day. The Hulk is the real deal, you know. But the Hulk is more vulnerable than he used to be. He's able to stab him and get his blood, and then Dr. Killebrew actually cures him with it, and so now he's able to heal again like he used to, or at least slowly but surely. He's not back to 100%, but anyway, he's getting there, and he tries to kill Dr. Killebrew, and Siren walks in on him, and she basically says, okay, you can kill him, but I'm going to stand here and watch. And Deadpool won't kill him with her standing there, because Deadpool is starting to really fall in love with her, and it's actually kind of a charming thing, really, the way he feels about her. It's not a creepy thing. It's not like a really, really macho thing as much as Deadpool kind of pretends it is. He has real, genuine feelings for this person, and again, this is one of those flashes of humanity where you can really kind of appreciate the character, as obnoxious as he tends to be. And so finally he decides, just like he did the first time they were together, and she talked him out of killing someone. He also doesn't kill Dr. Killebrew, and it's nice, and I like that the differences here, because it's not exactly the same thing as before. First of all, Dr. Killebrew is more emotionally connected to Deadpool on a personal level because of their past together, and also Dr. Killebrew is legitimately trying to turn over a new leaf, and he wants to help out all the people that he's harmed. He wanted to start with Deadpool because Deadpool was the worst of them, and then he wants to go on and help all the other people that he had harmed. And Siren kind of explains all that and says, you know, you're being really selfish, Deadpool, if you don't let him live and go. You know, seek that redemption and help all those other people that you know, were wronged just like you were. Then, you know, how are you really any better? And ultimately, by the end of it, because Deadpool decides to do the right thing, the humane thing, Siren tells him that because she's working towards being the leader of X-Force, she can't date him right now, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility, is the way that she puts it. And I really liked that. I really liked the idea that these two could eventually have a relationship together. And like I said, I really liked them together. And that was probably my favorite part of this book. You have this spot in the middle where, actually, even before I get to that, I guess there's even this flashback issue I should probably mention briefly, where we get a bit of the past with Vanessa, who we saw in the first trade, who was who here is a prostitute, and she has a relationship with Wade, who is already a mercenary, but she, you know, sees him as being a better man than other people do, and she takes up for him with some people that are trying to kill him. And I'm not going to get into everything with this issue. I thought it was a little bit bland, and what was odd to me about it, and Wade is rarely even in the issue. We see him in a couple panels. For the most part, it's about Vanessa and things she does and sacrifices she makes for this person that she cares so much about with Wade. And of course, we found in Volume 1 that Wade had gotten so far gone she thought that she couldn't do that for him anymore, and that they couldn't be together. Well, Wade Wilson in this is completely no-nonsense. He doesn't joke, he doesn't smirk, he doesn't seem to have any kind of sense of humor. And I resisted that a little bit. I have a difficult time with the idea that a person could make such a giant 180 and become such a different kind of person. I'm not saying that going through such a horrendous thing like he did with Weapon X wouldn't change him. It's just that he has such a specific kind of sense of humor. He makes so many pop culture references that it's difficult to understand where all the pop culture references come from if he was so no-nonsense before. I couldn't see that Wade Wilson sitting around watching game shows and sitcoms and all the stuff that Deadpool is always referencing later on after he's become Deadpool. I wonder if he just like consumed all of that pop culture and you know, all that stuff after he became Deadpool, or if none of it, and if none of it came from his past from before that. I thought that was strange. I think that, just personally for my taste, I think it would have made a great deal more sense if he had already, you know, been at least a little bit sarcastic, you know, had a bit of a lip on him. And so I could see how his outlook on things might change and how he might become more violent and lose more touch with reality. But the idea that he would go from being completely no-nonsense to suddenly being sarcastic and joking about everything with pages and pages of dialogue seems a little bit far-fetched to me, honestly. Well, anyway, then there's this middle part where that's basically setting up Deadpool and Typhoid Mary, and this part lost me a bit. I was a little bit bored in the middle because I felt like things could have happened a lot faster with the section where Deadpool is at first seeming to try to help Typhoid Mary go after Daredevil in the annual, and then later actually tries to help Typhoid Mary change her life around and have a different outlook on things, and not just kill people for the sake of killing people, and like Siren did for him. I love all of that. That's fantastic. But what was weird was this middle section where not a whole lot of story was being told, and it was all set up to get to Typhoid Mary, where he is hired by this girl who turns out to be psychotic to actually kill herself, which was kind of an interesting idea, but it was just so drawn out that by the time we got to it, I felt fatigued. I mean, it was a cool idea once we got there, and then she turns into a big, weird monster thing, and like I said, it kind of lost me. It seemed like that part, and that's where I get off saying that this book sometimes has a bit of an inconsistent tone. That was a part where I felt like it was all about the jokes and not really about storytelling, so that by the time we get to the bit where he makes this huge mistake with Typhoid Mary, and they fight, he knocks her out a window, and then that kind of triggers the darkest part of her typhoid personality, which starts things in motion for her to go after Daredevil, who we discover at the end has a lot to do with what made her become Typhoid Mary in the first place. What got Mary to become Typhoid, and this was information we didn't have previously. It's this big reveal for Daredevil. This is actually a really important thing for Daredevil, where we find out that Matt Murdock, wearing a ski mask before he was actually Daredevil, I suppose, had accidentally, ironically, again, knocked Mary out of a window, and that actually split her personalities into two, because she had been hurt by so many men in her line of work. By the way, there are a lot of prostitutes in this book. There's a lot of stuff about prostitution and about men using women and what that does to women's psyches. And it seems like Joe Kelly really fixates on this idea, and it's and he does it well, and it's interesting, and it's sad, and it's also interesting to see these characters that are prostitutes that become really sympathetic characters regardless of their line of work, and I liked that. But I just felt like this middle section, when things started getting really heavy toward the end, and again, it's all written by the same writer, this middle section that was just about the jokes and the kind of breaking the fourth wall stuff that people are always talking about with Deadpool, I felt like it was inconsistent, and it was kind of hard to trudge through. There were definitely sections in this where I found myself kind of wanting to skip over some of Deadpool's dialogue. It's not that it was unfunny. Some of it's just not really my sense of humor, and I guess it's one of those things where Deadpool is supposed to be obnoxious, so you're either on board with that or you're not. And again, as I said last video, it's not exactly my cup of tea. Where I'm enjoying Deadpool is when he gets away from that a little bit. But the problem, of course, is that you can't appreciate those sections where Deadpool shows his humanity and becomes more of a hero than a mercenary if he doesn't have all those other parts where he's not doing that. So I completely understand that has to happen. It's just a lot of things to wade through that I said wade through, talking about Deadpool, but it's a lot of stuff to try to trudge through while trying to get to the meat of the story with these books. And I can totally see how people have complained that more recent Deadpool stories have kind of forgotten about all of that and have just become about telling a lot of jokes and not really telling a lot of story. I can't speak to that. I haven't read them, but I could completely see how that could happen with this character. It's definitely a danger with a character like this. So anyway, the end of this is after Daredevil, after it's been revealed to Daredevil that he was partially responsible for what happened to Typhoid Mary, he's able to actually go against that and say, but it's not my fault that you did all these horrible things after you did that and after your personality was split. It's not really my fault that happened. You're still responsible for your own actions. And then after that, I was surprised that there's one more issue that actually, once again, deals with Typhoid Mary, and again, it's Deadpool trying to do for her what Siren did for him, and it's really, really good. Actually, in some ways, it's the best issue of the book. Although I still enjoyed the Siren stuff a little bit more, but I really liked the idea that Wade is trying to help this person who just kills people to have something else in her life, and to be able to and to be able to seek redemption for it, and she turns that on him, and it's interesting too, because earlier T-Ray, who is a rival of Deadpool's, who's also another mercenary who gets his assignments at the Hell House, he at one point tells Deadpool that Typhoid Mary is going to be the death of him, and that his thinking that he can help her seek redemption, and that he can be a hero by doing that, is going to be the end of him. And it's really interesting how that's foreshadowed. I really like that that's foreshadowed, because when you get to the end, that's actually kind of exactly what happens, because Typhoid says, look, Deadpool, you're not a hero. She keeps calling him, she keeps taunting him over and over again, hero, hero, and says, okay, you know what, you want to be a hero? You want to help me help you? I'll help you help yourself by going off and killing all those people and telling you where I'm going to be and seeing if you can stop me, and I'll let you actually be a hero. And she kills a couple people, and he's not able to stop her. And it drives him crazy, and he gets really freaked out about it, and he just beats her to a bloody pulp at the end of this. And that's where we're at the end of this. That's where it stands, with all these onlookers on the street seeing Deadpool beat this girl to a bloody pulp. And that's where it is. That's where the cliffhanger is. So overall, I think there's some great storytelling that happens in this book. I do think that sometimes the jokes kind of take over, and that's probably my biggest complaint about it. Anyway, tomorrow there will be more Deadpool to come. We're going to take a look at Deadpool Classic Volume 3. Thanks a lot for watching the Comic Book Vault. If there's ever anything you want to send to me to review on the Vault, you can always send things to my P.O. Box. It's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.